This presentation is designed for students who enrolled in desktop publishing after the initial week 1. You will need to pause and restart this presentation multiple times in order to complete the tasks required. If you need assistance at any time, write down your questions and wait for your facilitator to become available. The textbook for this unit is Computer Skills BSB ITU 309, Produce Desktop Published Documents. You can order the above book by using the form that's available on the campus drive, and this will be discussed later in the presentation. You need to copy down some files to use with the book, so please pause the video now and write down this address to access those files. In order to access those files, you would have needed to minimize the screen, and you should have copy and pasted all the files in that particular folder onto your personal USB in the desktop publishing folder that you created earlier. This is where you will save all your desktop publishing work during class. So let's discuss your portfolio files. In order to pass this unit, you'll need a portfolio of desktop publishing files created under supervision. You will find a file called DTP Logsheet, now copied onto your personal USB, to help keep track of your work. The grey items shown on the log sheet are the portfolio files and need to be saved to a different USB, an assessment USB. A hard copy of the front cover of the log sheet will be provided for you to sign. This is evidence that you have started the unit. You will also be required to sign a record of competency. So please make sure you do this before you leave class today. At the front of the classroom there will be a box containing the assessment USBs discussed earlier. Please choose a numbered USB from the box and ensure you write your name next to the number on the sheet provided. This USB will be used by you for the remainder of the semester to save your portfolio files. It must not be removed from the classroom. So, with your new assessment USB with a number on it, place it into the drive in the computer and go to My Computer. Right-click on the USB shown under Removable Storage and rename the assessment USB to your full name. With the assessment USB still in the drive, create 5 folders on the USB with the following file names, just as you did for your personal USB, and then return the USB to the box. You might want to pause the video now in order to do this. At the end of the desktop publishing unit, the assessment USB must contain the 6 required portfolio items from the log sheet in order to gain competency in the unit. So let's go back to ordering your textbook. If you haven't already done so, you need to download the textbook order form, which is now being copied to your USB so that you can order your textbooks. Complete the form and email it to the address provided. Alternatively, use the telephone number on the form for assistance. There are a limited number of textbooks available in the college library, and teachers do not have spare books. The next few slides will discuss some textbook reading that will be required in order for you to pass the unit. Please write down the following page numbers, 14 to 19, to study at home on work health and safety. This relates to ergonomics, that is chair, screen and workstation placement, and these guidelines should be followed during class. You will also be required to read the sustainability pages 20 to 21, which relate to energy and resource conservation. More homework reading, pages 22 to 23, discussing timelines and copyright. Please study these off campus. So what is desktop publishing? Desktop publishing, or DTP, is the production of printed matter by means of a printer linked to a computer with special software. The software enables brochures, cards, and newsletters to be produced cheaply and easily. During this unit, you will learn to use Microsoft Publisher 2013 to create different types of advertisements and newsletters by following some simple rules of layout and display, which will be discussed on the following slides. A good rule to follow is less is more. Filling a page with clip art and different sized fonts does not produce a quality product. Generally, you should limit the number of typefaces to 2 or 3 and keep pictures to a minimum. This desktop published document is not a very good example of good layout and design. The background makes the text very difficult to read. Here's another example of a crowded and unattractive DTP document. Too many pictures, too many fonts, and too many colours. On the other hand, this is an example of a very well planned and laid out desktop published document. The font is really easy to read and the picture is nice and clear. Another good rule of layout and display is to use white space to your advantage. White space provides visual breathing room for the eye. And if you can see these 3 examples of well-designed desktop published documents with plenty of white space, we know exactly what the documents are about. In the workplace, your employer would generally make a formal request for you to produce some sort of DTP document. It could be something simple, such as a one-page advertisement, or more complex, like a multiple-page newsletter. Either way, certain criteria would be provided and a work request form would be raised. If you have the textbook, please turn to page 24, which discusses work request forms. If you don't have the book, you can still watch the presentation and it'll be explained to you. A work request form asks you to complete a certain task. The particular work request form on page 24 asks for the creation of an advert for Mark Jones Law Firm to appear in the local directory. They've asked you to include address, phone and fax numbers and list the legal services that the firm specialises in. Because the advert is to appear in a directory, the company name and phone number must stand out. So we'll imagine that your employer has emailed you this work request. They've asked you to do a particular publication. So when you're creating a publication, it's always a good idea to start with a plan. So look in the desktop publishing folder on your USB now for the file name Publication Plan and open the file. So please pause the video right now, minimize the screen and find the publication plan. So looking at the publication plan, you'll see that there's a space to add your name and a space to add the file name of the finished document. And then there's some area to write the design concepts. So you must follow the work request brief from slide 27, where it asked for you to have a prominent company name and phone number and a fax number and legal services displayed. So you would add the above under the heading Design Concepts. So this is how your publication plan might start to take shape. You'll have your name at the top and the file name of the document. And then the items that we just discussed on the previous slides, I've put them in red so that you can see where they should go. The prominent company name and phone number, fax number and legal services displayed. So now you need to finish the plan according to this particular task. And this is just an example of how a plan might be written. So you would put in the publication purpose. In this instance, it's an advertisement for Mark Jones Law Firm in the local directory. The target audience, of course, people who are going to read this advertisement are people seeking legal services. The paper size and orientation, well, this could be anything depending on the project, but in this case we're going to choose single column landscape format. And the content, well, the content relates back to the work request form. Now, when you're filling out this form, you might have to consider the design concepts. And there are certain design concepts for desktop publishing, which you'll learn about as we go through this course. But a few of them are balance, where you're talking about distributing the contents of the publication evenly. And then there's harmony, where all items on the page work towards a common goal. Then you have sequence, where the eye flows easily between the items on the page, and proportion. So you consider the importance of each item in your publication, and you don't want things to stand out that aren't supposed to stand out. On page 26 of the textbook, there's a list of things to be considered when planning a publication. You can have a look at this list now if you have the book. From the list, we will add to the design concepts of the plan, contrast and white space. The next step is to make a thumbnail sketch, which is a rough drawing. So sometimes only the person who's designing the desktop published document understands the drawing. They're very quick and they're sometimes in pencil, and they allow the designer to try out several ideas before starting the project. So here's an example of a completed publication plan with all the information on it that we talked about on the previous slides. And there's the brief thumbnail sketch at the bottom of the screen, talking about where we're going to place things on the page when we create the document. So this is an example of how the finished desktop published document might look, and it relates to the thumbnail sketch and according to the work request form and the publication plan. When you first open Publisher 2013, you're greeted with a template gallery. Templates are built-in publications that you can change to suit your needs. Examples are newsletters, cards, labels and brochures, and we'll discuss these later. So you can choose to watch the full presentation from now on and do this task later, or you can pause and minimize and do it along with the presentation at the same time. When you open Publisher for the first time, you see the template screen, and you can choose a blank document if you wish. So from the opening screen, choose blank A4 portrait publication. At the top of the Publisher screen, you'll see the ribbon, and the ribbon allows you to navigate and add items and save your publication. It also shows a ruler at the top of the page so you can keep your publication balanced. One of the most important things you need to know about creating a publication is how to use the guides. The guides are lines that are placed on the page that allow you to keep the balance in the publication as you're creating it. So you would go to the Page Design tab on the ribbon and click Guides. After clicking Guides, you'll see a list of built-in layouts to help you keep your publication balanced. Just for practice, we're going to select the 3x3 grid on the bottom row. So if you're doing this with the presentation, you'll see on your screen now the 3x3 rows. So you have 9 boxes on the screen, and they're just a method of keeping the text and pictures balanced evenly, and they don't print. So to demonstrate how we can keep our publication balanced, we're going to insert a shape into the top left-hand box. So on the Insert tab on the ribbon, choose shapes and locate the smiley face and draw it into the top left box. So you'll have a smiley face in the top left-hand box on the screen, and I'd like you to stretch it to fill the ruler guide. So just fill that top left-hand box. After you have that smiley face correctly in the box, I'd like you to repeat with the bottom right-hand ruler guide. So you'll have a smiley at the top left and the bottom right. This is to show you how your publication will look. You'll have two smiley faces perfectly balanced at opposites because you've used the guides to keep them even. So we're doing something new now. We're going to draw a text box across the centre of the publication, across the three centre grid lines, grid boxes. So you go Insert and then choose Draw Text Box and drag the text box across the three centre guides as shown in the picture here. You probably already know, but a text box is used to type something in. So you're going to type some words in there. So I'd like you to look at the ribbon and check that you're on the Home tab now. Click into the blank text box that you've just created and change the font size in the text box to 72. You can see here on the ribbon how you would change the size to 72 just by using the font group. And inside the text box, now you've changed the size, you're going to type My First Publication and then go to the paragraph group on the ribbon and click the center button as shown here by the orange arrow. So you've created a simple publication with two graphics and some text. So the next step is to save your publication to your personal USB. So make sure you have the USB in the drive if you're following along with this presentation. And from the File tab, you choose Save As, and then you have to click the Browse button and locate your USB on the computer and then the folder called Desktop Publishing, and double click to open that folder. So you should be in the Desktop Publishing folder now, and you're going to type the file name in the area provided as shown on this screen, My First Publication, and then you will click Save and close the publication. So, as discussed before, when you open a new publication, you get an area that shows you all the templates. So, at this screen, I'd like you to click on the built-in button. It's quite small above blank A4, and this allows you to access the templates that are already available in Publisher. And after you've chosen built-in, choose business cards. So you're going to accept the first choice of style for the business card, called arrows, and then change the colour scheme on the right hand side to whichever colour scheme you like. I've chosen marine here, but you can have any colour, and then you click the Create button. A business card will come onto the screen with different sorts of text boxes on it, and you'll click into the individual text boxes and make changes. And you can see the next slide for an example. So using whatever information you like, you click into the individual text boxes and change the data. Then print preview the completed card by using the File tab on the ribbon, and then you can save it to your USB as business card in the Desktop Publishing folder. Please now turn to page 27 of the textbook and follow the instructions for creating templates. Work through the book to page 41. Please remember before you leave class today that you provide your teacher with a signed front cover sheet for the unit and a signature on the record of competency. Thank you for watching.